Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them, put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. 1 Samuel 15:3 God speaking to Saul. That is in the Bible. And we need to talk about it. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that doesn't sound horrifying. Because it does. If a general today received that order, we'd call it ethnic cleansing. We'd bring him before an international tribunal. So how do we hold that passage and still claim the God of the Bible is good? That's the real question. And here's where most people go wrong: they answer it too fast. 400 years of warning. God told Abraham the Canaanites' judgment was coming but delayed it 400 years because the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. Gen 15:16. The language is hyperbole. Ancient Near Eastern warfare texts routinely used utterly destroy as rhetorical language, like we annihilated them in a sports headline. Scholars like John Goldingay and Paul Copan document this extensively. Rahab lived. Others fled. The same texts that give the command also show non-combatants escaping and being spared. A literal extermination was not what happened or what was expected. The objection assumes there is a universal moral law above God by which we can judge him as wrong. The problem with that: if there is such a law, where does it come from? A moral standard above God implies another lawgiver, which collapses secular ethics. The objection says, God did something evil. But that statement only works if there's a moral standard higher than God, something he violated. Where does that standard come from in a universe without God? You can't borrow the moral framework that requires God to exist and then use it to prosecute him. And here's something the critics rarely mention: the Bible itself wrestles with this. The prophets challenge violent interpretations. Jesus reframes the entire ethic: love your enemies. The New Testament moves toward a God who absorbs violence rather than commands it. The arc of Scripture is not toward more violence. It bends toward a cross. That doesn't erase the hard passages. But it tells you what direction the story is going. I won't pretend this question disappears with a clean 3-point answer. Some things in Scripture are genuinely difficult. Sitting with that difficulty honestly, that's not weak faith. That's real faith. The question isn't whether God is uncomfortable to read sometimes. The question is whether the whole story, taken together, points to someone worth trusting. I think it does. Drop your toughest objection in the comments. We read every one. Next week, if God already knows everything, do you actually have free will, or is your whole life already written?